Hello, good morning. It is Sarah. Everyone that will probably see this on Facebook already knows me because I only have my friends on Facebook. But there was some interest in me showing you how to make, these are called forge edge books. And a forge edge basically just meaning that there's an image on the edge of the book. Some people paint it on. I definitely want to try that, but this seems like a way easier craft than painting it. And so I was just going to show you how to make it. There's some tools you'll want for this craft. It is a very frugal craft, and I would say the most expensive thing you need is this. And if you don't already have one of these and you like to do any kind of paper craft, highly recommend. It's my absolute favorite tool. I've had at least 10 of these in my whole life since the time I was 8, and it's just my favorite tool in the world, just being able to cut so perfectly down an edge and not rely on me with scissors. But you will also need a pair of scissors and this double-sided tape. I did try gluing it at first because me and this tape have a long history of hating each other, but turns out I was just buying really cheap, crappy ones. I got these at Hobby Lobby, pack of 4 for like $8. This usually $10 to $15. Of course, I already had this stuff laying around my house because I have a lot of crafting stuff. And then for the actual project, if you already have those, all you'll need is a book. This is a thrifted book. What you're looking for is, I guess, an appropriate title. I always look for that. I mean, this is a book about Johnny Cash and his life, and I guess maybe some of his political reviews. I'm not too concerned with it because when it's setting up, all you see is a black cover. You're not really going to pay attention to this, but if it's like an Amish love story, maybe skip that book. I like to get books that have like solid colors. Black is my favorite color, so black is always a go-to for me. You're going to want about 250 to 350 pages. If you are so inclined to make one out of like a Harry Potter book, for instance, you know, Harry Potter 5, that's a thick book and it would be absolutely beautiful and you should totally do it. And you can easily pick those books up now. You can pick almost any book up at a thrift store. I pay $0.25 for each book at my thrift store. Other books that I look for, this one, for example, this one had been, I actually bought this for $0.25, which is so sad because Sorcerer's Stone, right? But I got it for $0.25 at a thrift store, and I tried painting on it, and I didn't like it because my Posca markers were too fat. But this is basically what I'm going to show you how to make, and there's many ways to get your image. I put this in Being an Image Creator, which is free. You just sign up an account, and I basically put Gothic skull with hearts, and I put a couple colors in, and then I just typed digital art, and it created this image for me. And then I took that image and I put it on a website. Let me find an example. It's called photobookart.com, and I paid $1.99 for my image to get put out onto these. And this is just strips of, and it's kind of hard to even tell what they are. You just kind of trust the process on this. So what you're gonna do on this website is you're going to measure your book. I would recommend measuring the actual hardback part because I've been just measuring the pages and there's not enough room for me to fold, and I like folding my books as well. This one is the first one I ever done. It's a little messy, but I like being able to fold the edges. This one's not gonna be folded. It's for my husband. He has seen the progress on it and he thinks it looks cool as is. But obviously the folded edge looks way cooler, but it's gonna be for him, so I'm just gonna leave it. I'm doing a character, it's called Shenron. It's from Dragon Ball Z. It's one of his favorite animes. He watched it as a child, and now he's getting Aiden, my teenager, into watching it as well. So I think he's a wish dragon. His name is Shenron, like I said. And basically if you collect all these Dragon Balls, I think they're called. There's 7 of them, and they all have a star, you know, so this is ball 4, which I believe was his first ball he had, or was like passed down to him from an uncle, I don't know. I have Dragon Ball Z fans as friends on Facebook, so if you want to put some Dragon Ball Z info in there, you know, some cool little fun fact that I can bring up anytime my husband wants to talk about this show, that'd be cool. He'd be impressed with me. But anyway, so I got this one off Google and I just took it to InShot, which is the editing app I use, but I just had it cut out the print, like, you know, I clicked the button, it cut it out, and that's what it gave me, this image. And then I went to PhotoBook, I measured my book, I put how many pages my book was, because it will perfectly put the image in this book. I'm not too concerned about that. I end up ripping pages out because I always start at the very first page just in case, because there's been many times I have miscounted pages. And it will put it in this. And I paid $2 for this. You can easily make one of these on Excel. And I watched a video on how to do it, and I still don't want to do it because Excel is not my friend. But it has the page numbers down here at the bottom, which will perfectly match up if you start on the page that you're supposed to and whatever. I just use it as like, this is my next strip, my next strip, my next strip, my next strip. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut them out, and then you take each strip. So this is my next one. You fold it in half, and I will show you a couple ways to fold in half. I personally just like folding it in half. I've been doing origami since I can remember, and I have no issues folding in half, but there is a trick to make it a lot easier. And then you take the piece and you're going to line it up at the top. I put this down for overflow on the tape because I don't want it to stick to the next page. And you just put some tape down. You take your piece, make sure it's your next one, 223. Oop. Place it in between the page, or rather the page is going in between this little strip. Tape it down. Make sure it's as flush to the edge as possible. I will show you an example of pieces that weren't, and you can see the difference. Open it up, snip off your piece. So the background for my picture is this tan, so I know like I'm snipping right at this black. And I'm gonna leave the black because that's the outline. Ignore my fingers. I craft a lot and my paint never stays on. So snipping off around the image, easy peasy. Folding it. I kind of put it in the middle of this page because I don't really care if sticky is here. And then tape it down. And that's it, one page done. You can't tell what it is, but it's really cool whenever every single page is done because obviously you get the image. You can see spots that where it's sticking up, where it's like uneven, and that's because the piece of paper wasn't flush against the page. I think handmade things shouldn't be perfect. Otherwise, you know, it looks like a machine did it, so I'm not too concerned about it. So that piece was really easy because it's the whole image is in the middle, but if you look at this, there's some pieces that are like cut around, right? And I have to clean this up. I'm gonna go back and that's a good thing about this tape is that it is double-sided, but it's not like super permanent. So at the end, I'll be able to come to this little white section here because I wasn't sure what it was because the strips, like you can imagine how hard it is to, like this right here. I'm not sure what this is, and maybe I don't want it in the book, but I'm gonna leave it when I'm putting it in, and then if I don't like it, I'll take it out. Basically, I'm just gonna make sure I don't put tape right there to make it easier on me to cut out later if I want. But an example of the pieces that are like cut around looking, which makes the book look cool, like that is what makes it look cool. It's the same thing, except what you're doing is you're gonna tape the whole strip, you're gonna tape where the image is, and then you're going to cut out the extra. And that's what gives you the effect of this like ball out here floating. So whenever you're doing small details like that, which is usually at the very beginning and at the very end. I dropped my image, give me a second. So usually an image is gonna be just a straight strip, but these balls that are floating out in the clouds, that's what's the most time consuming. But once you get in the middle, like it's super easy, you can go fast and it's just like a whole strip and it's, well, easier. Okay, but for those little pieces, like if this wasn't just a straight image, so I got 225 next, what you're gonna do is you're gonna line it up at the top. I found this to be the easiest. Let's just pretend that the green in it isn't, you know, the image that I want. I'm gonna carefully tape just where I want it. That was careful. And then same thing, put the strip on, secure it as close as you can to the actual edge of the paper. Open it up. So all I'm actually gonna cut here are these little pieces, right, that I need to cut for this page. Let's say this green isn't actually a part of the picture. I just kind of wiggle. You see how much room I have there because of where I taped? Just kind of wiggle under, and I would cut there and get rid of it. I hope that makes sense. And then same thing, you would tape just where the image is, because you'd have a bunch of little pieces of paper at that point on it, and fold. And that's it. You know, I've been married to, or I've been with my husband for, I don't know. That's horrible. I'm a woman and I don't know how long I've been with her. See, that's sexist. Not all women care about dates. But, you know, about 10 years, a little longer, 11 years, okay? And this is his absolute favorite show. I cannot commit to watching this show. I would love to, but it's like One Piece, right? My son's really big into One Piece right now, which is another anime. I like the live action. I don't care what you say. It's amazing. And they did great casting the characters. But there's like 1,000 episodes, I'm pretty sure, to Dragon Ball Z. So basically the only information I have about it is, you know, the conversations that I rope my husband into whenever I want him to talk about something that isn't work. And speaking of work, this book is going to have a nice spot in his office because he is just as nerdy as I am. We like different things, but we're both nerdy, if that makes sense. And he's a first sergeant right now. It's his second time doing that duty. And he has an office again. And my favorite thing to do is make him stuff and him decorate his office in a nerdy fashion. Nerdy professional fashion, I would say. But, you know, his soldiers come in and sometimes they have to have very serious talks. And I think, you know, I can think back to when I was in the military and I had to have those kind of serious talks. And, you know, sometimes you catch yourself staring at a poster in the background. Or I personally like challenge coins. Always want to see everyone's challenge coins, which are just, you know, big metal coins that you get for, I don't know, you did good on this job, here, have my coin, or, you know, that kind of thing. I'm pretty sure I was a pirate in my past life, so coins are like the best for me. And I just want him to, one, like his nerdy office. I want him to enjoy it. But also his soldiers, which I promise you know a lot more about anime than I do, to feel comfortable in there. And my husband is grateful enough to take my crafts out of my house and put them in his office. He just got a 3D printer, which last week I was working on this book and he was setting up his 3D printer, which was kind of a pain in the butt for him, but he finally figured it out. And he was like, it has begun. And he was printing his first thing on the 3D printer. And I'm sitting over here like actively crafting. And his machine was doing it for him. And I was giving him a lot of crap about that. But this weekend, he's going to sit down and he's actually going to create, because he's trying to learn how to, you know, make his own patterns, not just take them from the internet. And he's going to create a kind of the way he described it is kind of a crescent moon situation that is going to hold Dragon Balls around it, around this book. Because last year I got him like the resin Dragon Balls. I'm sure you've seen them if you like the show. And as of right now, they're just sitting in the bedroom in a case. You can't even see them because, you know, we're adults. Where do we put that? And if you're going to say literally anywhere in the house, I promise you that space is already taken up because my family does a lot of crafting. The whole family. One of my kids is into music, so he has a ton of instruments. My middle son, Aiden, he is big into models. You know, it started off as like just Legos, but Legos are expensive. So I got him into a few other things. He does like metal. I don't know if you've seen like the metal art. It just comes in sheets of metal and you have to sit there and bend it, and like he has way more patience than I do. He also does the wooden models. I don't really know how else to explain that. It's like, let me show you an example. I think they're called book nooks a lot of the time. This isn't one he did, this is one I did, but we actually all sat down and did these last week. Isn't that cute? Look at the little, my house is filled with this kind of stuff. So no, I don't have the most space for Dragon Balls. And then as you know, if you do know me at all or follow me at all, I have about 20 other crafts that I do. So yeah, I actually just ordered a new craft cabinet, which I'm excited about. That will be the second craft cabinet. This one will be shared between everyone in the house. So like the airbrush set's gonna get to go in there. The sewing machines are gonna get to go in there. Everything will be tucked away. much neater. And that's about all I have to say, I guess. And I'm just gonna speed this up for a second. And then I'm gonna see right here. This is a perfect example. I have no idea what to do. I didn't tape right there. I taped like way down here, but I'm gonna leave that because that could be a horn or I don't know what it is. I actually only have one strip left, and then I will show you how to cut the strips, super easy. And the second option on how to fold the little strips in half, because I imagine that could be annoying. So I actually messed up earlier, and I wasn't paying attention to my numbers, and this piece got misplaced, and it was already taped down, and I lost the top and the bottom. So what I did, should you mess up, is I marked where it goes so I could place it exactly back where it goes. And hopefully that will work. See if it kind of lines up. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I don't know what this is, but that looks like another Dragon Ball. So should you mess up, this tape, you can peel it back off, my point. And if it rips a little bit of the page, it's not that big of a deal because it's gonna get covered up anyways by another strip. If you really mess up the page, I suppose you could just print out that piece again and like just that page, because I think this whole pattern was 19 pages long. It is time consuming, as you can see, but if I was doing it and I'm like, this sucks, I don't want to do this, I would not do it. I would have been done with the first book and never touched it again. So you got to make sure the craft you're doing is actually fun and not a pain in the ass. So that's how he's looking. Let me show you how to prep the strip, and then I'll probably be done, and I'll put a clip at the end of the whole book. So this is the page it'll print out on. If you use a photobookart.com, like I said, it puts it in there for you. You can do an Excel sheet, pretty simple if you are computer inclined. But so we're using this, cutting the strip. You want to keep the number on the top or the bottom. It's on both. I've been keeping it at the bottom because my last book is actually hanging off the page a little, like right here. And I'm sure, actually, I do know the fix for that. Whenever you're measuring the book, don't measure the page, measure the outside of the book. And it'll give you a little wiggle room. Okay, so the secondary option for folding these little pieces, if you have one of these, you already know, it has like this little indentation. That's where the little knife goes through and cuts the paper. So we're gonna use that indentation, and this is probably way easier. I just don't like it, and it messes up my nail to line it up and then score the middle of it. That's not exactly the middle, but it'll be right. And then W's. I didn't prep this page at all before I started. Let me fix that. That score line really helps you fold it. Like, you barely tap on it and it's gonna fold in half for you where it needs to be. So that's it, that's how you fold each little piece. Depending on how I'm feeling, I'll do one whole page at once, or I'll do both, or 2 pages. The first time I did this, before I got the rhythm of doing it, took about 20 minutes a page. I've gotten a lot faster at it. And I'm sure there's other ways that this could be even more streamlined, where it's only like 5 minutes a page or something, but I'm happy with how fast it's going. So I just go through and cut them, making sure I'm putting them in order. See, I just put these all backwards. That's not the order I want. So I would say before you start gluing, just make sure they're in order. And at this point, I am going to work on this book and just speed it up. And I'm sure you're gonna like whatever music I can get without Facebook yelling at me about stealing their music. And I'm gonna speed it up. So it's definitely not the most exciting craft, but it looks so good at the end. And it's totally worth it. Okay, well, have a good day and happy crafting. And if you try this, I really wanna see it, because I can never get my friends to try the crafts that I do. They probably don't have as much time on their hands. Who does, right? Me, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool. So cooking, cleaning, homeschooling, crafting in the morning. Have a good day. Okay, so my daughter has come downstairs and she's ready for breakfast, so I'm gonna put this away for now. I have 4 pages left. Wow, I'm almost done. This is how it's looking so far. And like I said, my husband's gonna like 3D print a, I don't know, some kind of soupy thing to hold Dragon Balls around it. So it'll look really cool in his office. It'll definitely be a conversation piece. You can find out which one of his soldiers are more nerdy than sporty. So anyways, have a good day. And I hope this was useful. If you'd like to see more stuff like this, let me know. Bye.